All right. So it is 2:50 and it's a Friday, so I want to make sure that we hit it, quit it, and move on, so you can get on with the rest of your weekend. Anyone have plans this weekend? Any big plans? What are those plans? I saw some people do this. What are some of your plans?
One of my friends is having a baby shower.
Okay, so you going to a baby shower?
I'm going to the cabin.
I'm going to the cabin this weekend. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day that you've kept us. We thank you for giving us another chance to get things right. And Lord, as we walk in this earth, we ask that you continually allow us to be salt and light in this dark and wicked generation. And Lord, may our minds continually be posted on you, Lord. And as we engage in this conversation, please prick our hearts, enlighten our minds, and engage our hands in doing everything that you will for us to do in the upbuilding and uplifting of your kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, just really quick, your autobiography is due on Monday. And so people had some questions around around what needs to be in that autobiography. Should it be paper? Are you just answering questions? And what I would suggest is if you could write it as a paper, that would help you because you'll find there may be another use for your autobiography later. Right? Yes.
What if we were using some of that and just like
That's fine. That's fine. 500 words. 500 words minimum. Pick the questions that make the most sense for you in terms of exploring all of that stuff. I would hope that at least by thinking about reading them and thinking about them, that those get planted in your brain a little bit. All right. So people do that. And I will do a better job of teaching in terms of slowing down. I was so frantic last Wednesday and last Monday that I'm not sure if folks were able to kind of get what I was trying to display. So I don't want that to be, I don't want to be a distraction. I want to facilitate information. So there's that. So to that end, I'm going to kind of go back over some of those notes that we talked about on Wednesday and actually walk us through some of that stuff instead of blazing through it. So the first concept that I want to go back and kind of talk about a little bit is this concept of knowledge. And so how do we know things, right? So we did the thing about the bicycle, right? And I had you draw a bicycle. And people have bicycles that look very different. Is that true? Yeah. When you look at your own bicycle versus a real bicycle, some folks found that their drawing didn't necessarily match a functioning bike. Right? Anyone find that in their when they drew their stuff, right? So it didn't match. So why is that? Why do you think there's a differentiation between what we know and then what we actually kind of draw right there? Because maybe we haven't built a bike before, right? So actual hands-on experience, right? We may not have that. Yes.
If the bike is working, and I can look at it and how it is down.
Yeah, so if the bike is working, I want you to think about this as a metaphor too, right? So if the bike is working, we typically don't pay any attention to it because it is working, right? So if things are working, we usually don't pay attention to that. So we have this idea of this illusion of knowledge. And so I want to play this, this clip for you from anyone ever watched the National Geographic show Brain Games? You watch that? Yeah, love that. Love that because it really gets my brain to going. Even when I can't get the start. Right. So I like that show, Brain Games. So they talk about this idea of illusion of knowledge. Does anybody know how? You ever think about zippers? You ever getting zippers to? Okay, so it's not just me. All right, good.
Are you telling us a question about that?
Probably not. OSHA probably wouldn't appreciate that. It's a stick. Other batteries. Spot you. All right, good. Thank you. Yeah, so I like playing games. And they certainly get us to thinking. It's an important one. So how do we know things? So how do you know about your family history? How do you know about your growing up? How do you know about your growing up? Stories. Are they stories you told? Stories that people tell you about what you did, right? So again, even things about us, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what was a true story and what was a made-up story, right? And so we don't necessarily oftentimes know what we think we know. So when we play this clip.
Stop. Pay attention. We're about to test. Stop. Pay attention. We're about to test your common sense. Take a look at the drawing on your screen. We've got a question for you. If this bus started driving forward, which direction would it move? Left or right? Not so obvious, is it? While you're struggling with this, would it surprise you to know that nearly 80% of children under the age of 10 can answer this question instantly? So, why is it so difficult? Still, most of us navigate our daily lives with relative ease. Drive your car, cook your food, use your computers, and talk on the phone like you were born to do it. But have you ever stopped to think about the things you don't know? And we're not just talking about what you did or didn't learn in the classroom. We're asking some college students the same question.
We come to school and we learn history and math and science, but all too often we fail to learn how the world really works. We take for granted the ubiquitous things we use in our everyday lives, like cell phones, or even a zipper. As simple as a zipper looks, do you actually understand how it works?
Stop for a second. Why don't you take a minute to think about it? You likely use a zipper every single day, but how does a zipper actually work? How does this simple device interlock two sets of teeth that you otherwise can't connect by hand? Harder to explain than you thought? We'll explain it in just a bit.
And it's okay if you don't understand it. You don't actually need to fully understand a zipper to prevent a wardrobe malfunction like my friend over here. The truth is, we don't know how much we don't know.
So let's go back to this bus. Have you figured out yet which direction it would move if it started driving forward? The answer is...
What do you think? So first, to the right?
Yeah.
You bet you to the left? Okay. Why do you say to the right, and then we'll ask why you say to the left? Left people. Why would you say we keep those left? Here we go. Let's find out.
To the left. But why?
I told you before that most kids under the age of 10 could get this right. Don't take our word for it. Take theirs. Which way is this bus going?
That way.
Why do you think that this is the front?
Because the door is on the other side. This way, that way.
The door is on the other side of the bus, so the driver can let the passengers off at the curb. Kids know this better than anyone.
But how do you know?
Because we're smart.
Yeah, you are smart.
Science writer Shankar Vedantam reports on the many processes that happen completely outside our conscious awareness.
So why is the bus question difficult for most adults and easy for children? Well, for one thing, it's a lot harder for an adult to see this simple drawing as a fully functioning bus. For a child, this is how a bus looks. But before you get too hung up on it, think about the bigger picture. This happens to us all the time in everyday life. We constantly come across problems we can't solve, and if we were honest with ourselves, we'd admit it. Psychologists have a term for this: the illusion of knowledge. Whether it's the bus question or how a zipper works, your brain is wired to try and provide an answer. It's a basic survival mechanism to make you feel more in control. After all, nobody likes to walk around feeling lost and clueless, especially about things we think we should know.
The best way to see just how your brain fills in the blanks for you is to challenge it to get detailed about how a specific object works. Take a bike, for example. I'm setting up this next experiment, created by psychologist Rebecca Lawson, to see if our college student can do this very simple test.
So I have an assignment for you guys today. It's called Draw a Bike. You guys have all ridden bicycles before, right? You know what a bicycle looks like. It's got some wheels, etc. Yeah, you know what a bicycle looks like. All right, good.
Sounds easy, right? Well, let's see how you would do. Stop. Pay attention. Let's take a look at these 4 drawings of bicycles. Only one of them could actually work, but it's up to you to decide which one it is. Have you made your choice? Remember your answer while we see how these students did. It turns out that over 90% of our participants drew totally unrealistic bicycles. How can it be so hard for smart people to draw a simple bike?
So we've actually created these bikes here that reflect the most common mistakes that people make when they draw bicycles. You'll be happy to know that a lot of you guys match these perfectly.
Let's see if you can spot which bike is actually functioning.
The first one is this white bike over here. All right, so Anne, tell me, here's your drawing. What's wrong with your drawing? What's wrong with this bike?
I have an extra bar there.
Which does what?
You can't steer the bike.
You can't steer the bike. So your prize is riding this mistake all the way down this campus.
Oh!
Okay, you don't have to do it
We
anymore.
don't be doing that.
I was pretty confident that I'd be able to draw a bicycle, but clearly I didn't do so well.
Anne's bike looked like this. Option A. Is this the bike you picked? If so, you'd have a problem too.
Moving on.
Oh, no.
Lauren, can you tell me what your mistake was?
Well, it looks like it's backwards.
Yes. Are you surprised that you sort of messed this up?
I'm really surprised because my brain went, I know how to draw a bike. I even added a bell on my picture.
Would you like to see her ride this bike?
No, it's totally not working. I was so confident in my bicycle, I didn't even realize that it was backwards.
Lauren's bike looked like this. Option B. If you pick this one, then you'd be out of luck. So now we're down to 2 bikes. Dalton's bike looked like option C. Did you pick that one? That's incorrect too. It doesn't even have a place for pedals.
Beautiful.
But if you picked option D, like Wesley's bike, then congratulations. You've been paying attention to your bicycle.
You have brought up his bike.
What? I was like, what did I do wrong?
Oh, yeah, working. Yes.
I'll see you guys later.
You know, our mental models of the world are not always as accurate as we think they are. But our brain doesn't like to feel unsure of itself, so it overcompensates and makes you feel more confident than perhaps you should be in many instances.
You've seen how hard it is for most people to draw a bike, and probably how difficult it is for you to explain exactly how a zipper works, right? So how does a zipper work? The slide that you pull on connects two sets of teeth that are specifically designed like hooks to interlock together at an angle when you pull the slide one way and disconnect when you pull the other way. Simple, right?
Even though you likely don't know how most things work, your brain believes it does. Your brain would rather pretend to know something than to admit it doesn't, in order to maintain this illusion that it knows all about the world.
This illusion of knowledge brings about a false sense of security in what you think you know, and also leads your brain to become overconfident in decisions you make every day.
So what does this have to do with equity in education? What do you think this has to do with equity in education? Why are we talking about this illusion of knowledge?
I feel like when you hear other people's stories, you try to relate to them, even if you don't, and you just want to find yourself in them. And so, like, when I'm trying to be a teacher one day, every student in my class is going to have a different background. And even though I haven't lived that life in that story, I can still be there for them anyway, but not pretend that I know and not have my brain overcompensate to feel like I can know.
Okay, so as a teacher, you'll want to relate to your students, but there's a fine line between intellectually connecting with them and then actually knowing what they experience. Other folks, how does this relate to educational equity?
Many of students, they will disregard your teaching because they think they already know something, but the best way to teach them is to ask questions of them and challenge what they think they know, because until you can kind of look at the bike example that your perception is skewed or lacking, students are going to assume that they don't need to meet that they don't need to come to class.
So they can make that assumption because they have this illusion of knowledge, right? So I've covered that, I've been through that, I know that. The other part that you'll run into as well as a teacher is that students will try to discount you because you're not like them, right? You don't know where I come from. What you know about whatever, right? I don't know, you may have friends that have exhibited similar behaviors, right? So do you have to know everything about your students to be an effective teacher to your students?
I want to say no, you don't, but I think this shows us that we need to have humility in being learning, to continue learning, rather than approaching as I already know, I already this, I don't need to learn about this. You know, like culture.
Humility, that's interesting, humility as a teacher. So no, the answer is no, you don't have to. So let's even say, if someone did say you have to, can you know everything about all of your students to be 100% accurate in your interaction? No, you can't. I mean, you're human, right? There's only one who knows every hair in your head and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's not even practical. And you'll hear people say things like that. So what does that mean, though? So if I can't understand everything about my student, go ahead. We should never assume that we know what people are going through. What else? If I'm not assuming it, then what am I doing? not even making the attempt, get to know them, right? Don't make the attempt, just get to know your students, right? Get to know them. You remember me saying, someone asked me, have you ever, what happens when you put a drop of water in a vacuum? I don't know, I've never done it. Okay? But I will tell you that once I do it, I'll know. I will know. So we have this illusion of knowledge. How does the world work? What's the world like? How many times have I don't know if your parents ever told you, this is how the world is. Don't go here, don't do that. And then you get out in the world and you're like, well, that place actually isn't that bad if I go over there. Or as a matter of fact, that they will say, don't go over there. And so you go over there because they said, don't go over there. Anybody ever done something like that? Right? Yeah. The question oftentimes is, so why do people do what they do? Free will, choice, all that kind of stuff, right? But we're also trying to experience this idea of safety, significance, and belonging. And so the illusion of knowledge has its benefits. What might be the benefits of having this illusion of knowledge? What's the benefit of it? So you have some level of confidence.
You can start trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you can start stuff, right? You don't have to stay back and try to figure stuff out. You can jump in and say, let me just try this, right? So I've seen something similar to this, or I know this, so let me just jump on it, right? What's the bad part about this illusion of knowledge? You're assuming a lot of stuff, right? You're assuming a lot of stuff. And, when you do that with students, they're oftentimes, because of wherever your students are coming from, there may be steps that they missed and they'll never catch if you make the assumptions for them. So, when working with children, there's a certain approach. When working with adults, there's another set of approaches. So, when working with children, one of the things that I do, and I say children, anyone under 18, right? So, young adults, people under the auspices of a parental guidance. It's important to recognize that assume that they don't know, but treat them like they do. Right? Treat them like they do. And when working with adults, assume that they know and treat them like they know, knowing that they might not know. Right? So, I'll coin that later if you want to use it quickly on social media. Snapchat. So one of the things that is kind of detrimental to a paradigm is this idea of the illusion of knowledge and conformity. Okay? And so, has anyone seen kids sagging their pants? Anybody seen that? Kids sagging their pants. Does anybody know why they sag their pants? Anybody know? Did any of you sag your pants? I did. It's pretty cool. Sound old. So, conformity. So, why do you think most kids sag their pants? To fit in, right? Because everybody else is doing it, right? And oftentimes that's the case. I know you talked a little bit about basic, right? Somebody considered basic. Why? Why has that become a joke or a title that people choose? Because everybody else around them is doing it, right? So it's a type of conformity. I found it interesting when I taught middle school. All the loner kids, the emo kids, would hang out together. Anybody find that interesting? That all the loners hung out together. I'm a loner, but I'm hanging with the other loners, right? I just thought that was funny. right? Why? Partly because of conformity. And so, Stanley Milgram did an experiment that really worked to explain why conformity or how conformity happens. And I want you to pick up in this video some of the clues as to what happens when we have conformity that goes unchecked, when people aren't thinking about why they're conforming, right? And I used to write tickets to my kids, the marriages, for my kids who were sagging. And once I got this concept, I stopped doing it. Once I understood why they were doing that, I stopped writing them tickets. And I'll tell you why did they get sick, the merits that is, right? So if you can hit that light for me, and we'll go ahead and play this.
There are 9 subjects left. I can only use 4 for the heist. So a week after the seminar, I arranged to test the limits of their responsiveness to authority. So a week ago, I arranged for them to take part in what they now think is a piece of unfilmed academic research at the university and nothing to do with the show, supposedly looking into the effects of punishment on learning. And they believe now that this is part of their growth. In fact, it was a reenactment of a powerful experiment conducted by Stanley Milgram in 1963 to look at how normal people can commit atrocious acts simply because they're following orders. Milgram's parents were Jewish refugees in World War II, and his pioneering work speaks volumes about the nature of responsibility. It's being filmed with covert cameras.
Thank you.
They're introduced to an actor pretending to be another participant.
You didn't come from the same room. No. We don't actually know how punishment affects learning.
After a brief introduction, our subjects are tricked into thinking they've chosen their role as teachers in the experiment.
Can you just tell me what your positions are? Learner. Teacher. Learner.
Our subjects observe the learner being instructed by the scientist, who is just another actor.
This electrode is connected to a generator and something you know the teacher. Okay. Just make sure that you have a good contact with the skin so it doesn't cause any blistering burn, etc. That's okay. Yeah, just place these straps around your ankles to avoid any excess movement. Those aren't too tight. No, that's okay. But in particular, you read out some word pairs to you. Blue.
The learner is told he's going to be asked a series of memory questions by the teacher. He will have to word pairs and then correctly remember them when offered multiple choices.
If the answer is incorrect, you will receive an electric shock.
The teacher is then taken next door and shown the generator, which ranges from 15 volts all the way up to a lethal 450 volts. The domestic electricity supply in the UK is, of course, 240 volts. Our teachers are given the list of questions and told to increase the voltage each time the learner gets a question wrong. They are then given an example of a low voltage shock.
And try and estimate in volts the amount of shock before you get it. Okay.
Oh, shit.
Do you know how much it was?
Enough.
75.
It was actually 45.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Shoe horn steam.
The point of this test is to see whether the teachers, our subjects, will call a stop to the experiment or continue to the point where they are administering seemingly lethal electric shocks to the victims simply because the scientist is telling them to.
That's correct. The next word is bicycle. The options tyre, race, helmet, shorts. That's incorrect, so there'll be 120 volts. I don't want to do this anymore.
If you continue, please.
Really? No, I don't want to do this.
Each round requires you to continue.
Yeah, even so, I don't think I'm going to do it anymore. Correct.
According to plan, our accomplice provided many wrong answers. Each protest was coordinated to a particular shock voltage on the generator, and his responses were played via a CD.
That's wrong. 850 volts.
The correct answer is Captain Shoe. Cup. That's wrong. 225 volts. He's in a lot of pain.
Continue, please.
He's not comfortable.
You must continue to do the experiment. We will then like something like this go on to these mental words correctly.
Okay. Forest. That's wrong, 240 volts. Are you sure it's not causing any lasting damage? He sounds like he's in a lot of pain.
Well, it's just minor painful and not harmful.
What does that mean though? They're not harmful. Sorry, I'm not getting you. When you say that they might be painful but not harmful,
It causes no long-term damage.
because what does that mean? That it doesn't leave any scars?
It causes no damage.
That seems very cold and calculated to me. This doesn't seem like very. Anyway, golden. That's wrong, mate. 300 volts. Staple. The options are diet, jar, balcony.
If the learner doesn't answer in a reasonable time, say 4 to 5 seconds, you have to treat the answer as wrong and follow that procedure.
Did you hear that, learner? Just any response, mate. Come on. Wild guess.
Please continue.
345 volts. If you're still with me, I'm sorry. I can't do this, honestly. Can we stop this experiment? Because I can't do this.
If you don't continue, you'll have to discontinue the experiment.
Yeah, okay, fine. That's fine. I'm not going to do this.
Incorrect. 405 volts. Sorry, I don't know if someone want to check him. It's just he's not making any noise now, and he was before. And, well, I'm quite happy to go on, but I'm a bit worried about.
Should we continue?
Yeah, I'm just a bit worried because he was like he was like complaining before about that.
But no harm will come to
But
this.
he's not making any noise now.
It's essential that we continue the experiment.
Balcony. Incorrect. 450 volts. The problem is, he's not. It won't.
Please continue the procedure.
Like, it hurts, but it's because it's like it's a very dangerous situation. We'll be alright. Yeah.
Please continue. Discontinue the experiment then.
All of the subjects were told the true nature of the experiment was to see how they would respond to authority, and that it would eventually form part of the show.
He's okay.
I can tell you, yeah, he's absolutely fine. You actually weren't administering electric shocks to the floor.
In the original Milgram experiment, psychologists were asked to predict how many people would continue to the point that they were administering the highest shock on the board. Their prediction was 0.1%. They were wrong. The results of our experiment were almost identical to the original. Over 50% of participants continued up to 450 volts. The majority of people will administer lethal electric shocks just because a guy in a white coat is telling them to.
450 volts.
450 volts.
450 volts.
450.
So after the result,
Thoughts, comments, observations? You want to see this version? I haven't seen other versions, so I don't know how they. This one for me was really compelling. You can see the consternation on their faces, like they're wrestling with stuff, but they do it anyway. Yeah.
Do they know that like the highest amount they can use for it?
Yes.
They gave them the smallest one.
They gave them the smallest one, so they knew it was painful. What correlation were they trying to draw for them? Right. No, they demonstrated to them that it said it right there, lethal. So 450 is lethal. It was also written on the side. I don't know if you saw that lightning bolt on the side. Lethal. So I will tell you that the APA, the American Psychological Association, has outlawed this particular experiment, which is why I use Darren Brown's experiment, because he's in Great Britain, he's in the UK. So they don't have the American Psychological Association. Does anybody know why they don't have the American Psychological Association in the UK? Because it's not American. So, yeah. So, other thoughts? What does this have to do with this idea of conformity? What does this have to do with teaching and learning? Yes.
A lot of people tend to fall into stereotypical roles and they think that the position as the teacher is the authority over them, they can listen to them, regardless of if they know what the person or not.
Okay.
A lot of people don't feel responsible for their actions. I thought it was interesting that they kept asking, like, if you're there, like, they wanted the lab person to like control it instead of taking responsibility, they put the responsibility on him by asking.
Yeah, is he going to be okay? Because then I can continue, I don't have to take any responsibility for that, right? I always thought it was interesting that my students would try to put responsibility back on me as a teacher, right? Andre, I did your homework. No, you didn't do my homework. It was your homework or my class, right? So they would try to throw those things off. Or the converse is that the students would oftentimes ask me if what they were doing was okay, or was it good, or was it blah, blah. And if I said yes, I'm stamping the approval, but they'll never be sure, because what will they have to do next time? They want to find out if they're really doing it right or whatever. Go to somebody else and ask them, right? So now they're asking somebody instead of me saying, well, what do you think? Did you get what you wanted out of that? Was that effective for you, right? Because then they don't ask me the question. I mean, they don't have to answer to me. They get to solve their own answers. And if I give someone an answer to something, their success now hinges on me. But what happens about the failure as well? It's my fault too, right? So a lot of times in conforming just to conform. Now, are there some good ways or some practical ways? We talked about that yesterday. Obviously, right? If we want to keep people safe, we want to have people on the same kinds of pages. We want to move together as a group of people. There is a certain level of conformity that does have to happen. However, or simultaneously, you need to know what your goals are for that conformity. Know what your goals are, and know what the consequences are for not conforming. So I had dreads down to my waist. Loved it. Loved having, my little cape. I could just, whatever. Loved it. But I also knew there were consequences for having my hair that long. Right? And so I didn't get offended when people asked me for weed. Marijuana, I don't know, Mary Jane, I don't know. Right? No, I didn't get offended. I didn't get offended when people, when I would get, stopped or harassed in many cases because people had some assumptions of what they thought I looked like or who they thought I was because of my hair. I took that on. And then when I got tired of doing that, I made another change. So that's important to realize. What are your goals? And so, being a believer, being a patriot is not a good or a bad thing. What is good or bad is how does that help you reach your goal? Right? And again, most human goals are around this idea of safety, significance, and belonging. So how does being a believer give you safety, significance, and belonging? How does being a patriot give you significance, safety, significance, or belonging? How does doing it just because someone said so, how does that give you safety, significance, and belonging? In my household, if I wanted to belong in that house, I did it just because my dad said so, right? Whether, I agree with it or liked it, didn't like it or not. But as an adult, when I look at all of these ways that I can interact with the world, my goals come first. Right? My goals come first. So I'm moving towards my goals. And what is that called when you're moving towards goals? Anyone know Stephen Covey? Okay, so write down Stephen Covey. Write his name down. So moving towards goals, we would call that being proactive. And that is different than the face cream that spell different. Right? So proactive. So there's the Father and the Son. The Father has a D and the Son has a PH. And it's Covey, Covey. And use either the Father or the Son. And you get the Holy. No, that's another conversation. Sorry. Okay, yeah. We want the Trinitarian in here, the Father, the Son. Okay. We'll keep going. So proactive is moving towards goals, right? And so if I'm which means I have to understand what my goals are. I have to be clear about those so that I can move towards them. But moving away from a goal, what do you think is actually the opposite of that being what? Reactive, right? So reactive is moving away from goals or not moving in the direction of goals. How might we talk about that in terms of being a teacher in a classroom? We might call that off-purpose what? Behavior. Off-purpose behavior, right? Throwing paper, talking to your neighbor while, while the teacher's doing the thing, not being disruptive. It's off-purpose behavior because it's moving us away from the goal of the educational setting. Being proactive is moving towards those goals. So, I'm looking like I got 5 minutes. So should I do it or not? I won't do it. But this is maybe I'll do the first. Yeah, I got that. I'll do the first 5, and then we can talk about it. So here we go.
Hello, and welcome to the opening show of our primetime series, What Would You Do? If you see something and you think it's wrong, do you step in or do you step away? What people say and what they do aren't always the same. That's why our hidden cameras are so revealing. In our first scenario, we weren't sure what to expect when our opinionated man behind the counter meets the Muslim woman in a headscarf.
Deep in the heart of Texas, at this little roadside bakery, bigotry is being served with a coffee and cigarettes.
No, man, we don't serve Muslims here.
I'm sorry.
This is America. We're at war with your people.
I don't know what you think I am. I'm trying to get an apple.
Well, you're a terrorist, is what you are. So
Excuse me?
you better take your business elsewhere. We don't serve your kind.
The other customers at this bakery near Waco seem to hear everything, but they barely look at the Muslim woman, even when the language is tough to take.
Get back on the camel and go back wherever you came from.
Sir, I'm American. I was born and raised.
No, you're not. Americans don't wear towels on their head.
Muslim Americans say these are words they hear all the time in all parts of the country. But here at the bakery, what the customers don't know is that this Muslim woman and the man behind the counter are actors. The bakery is working with us, all part of a primetime hidden camera experiment on prejudice and patriotism.
Please take your business elsewhere. Am I asking too much?
When no one even tries to help her, she makes a direct appeal.
Sir, would you mind ordering me an apple strudel? That's why I'm here. I can give you the money.
Please no, sir. I'm not gonna let you go.
But when he gives her the cold shoulder, he finally just leaves.
You could have helped her out. You could have spoken up. Why not?
You must speak up for her. Well, if he tried to do some harm to herself, then you know what there.
But why not try to set him straight?
I really think that a person that owns his own business should be able to say something.
She's not American.
Others seem to agree with our actor as to who's an American and who's not. Is it all based on the way we look?
I'm an American citizen. I just would like an apple strudel.
Well, I'm sorry. Then why don't you dress like an American?
It's just for religious purposes, sir. I don't think you have any rights.
So I'm religious and I don't wear, Halloween costumes around. I mean, am I wrong here, sir?
Not me.
I run my business the way I want to run.
That's right. Don't put them in here without confusing skirt.
This customer is adamant, but the man behind the counter is doing the right thing. But the fact is, it's against the law to deny service to someone based on their race or religion.
My name is John Quinones, and I'm with ABC News. What did you think of what you heard here?
I didn't hear anything racist.
He told her he wouldn't serve her.
Well, he can say he wouldn't serve you if you come in here barefooted without a shirt on.
But she wasn't barefoot or without a shirt on.
Well, she wasn't dressed right.
What do you mean?
If I was running a place, I'd do the same thing.
You wouldn't let Muslims shop at your store?
I sure wouldn't.
We never expected customers to be so candid.
How do I know you don't have a bomb in there?
Watch what happens this time, when, once again, our Muslim woman is denied service
This is that right.
and again leaves.
We reserve the right to not serve. That's the right certain count.
That's right. That's, I appreciate saying that. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that.
He not only commends the man behind the counter for his discriminatory behavior, thumbs up, not once, but twice,
Good job. All right.
as he leaves.
Can I talk to you, sir, for a second?
But when I approach,
Sir, we're with ABC News.
there is no thumbs up for me.
We staged a little experiment in there to see how people would react. That kind of attitude. I'm American. I am American.
That man took it a bit farther, telling me I'm not an American.
Yes, sir.
So this is how the stuff plays out, right? This is how the stuff plays out. And I will tell you, if you want to find out how this video ends, it's in the Google, so you can watch that. Lastly, I will tell you that there were 6 people that were negative towards that woman, 13 who were positive, who stood up for her, but there were 22 people who didn't say anything. And so we'll talk about that on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Yeah,
Part of it, I think, is a Western phenomenon, but I think it's a Western phenomenon because we're weird about it, right? So we try to dissect and stuff about, but I would imagine we're all in Western. No, this is a question I can't answer because it is interesting that in Western culture, this is the belief, right? You have too much one of the class, who's in charge of everyone else, and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what that might look like. So,
I'll look at it more. I remember we saw that other video where it was like for instance, yeah. I'll say, like she was very young, she started. I was like, oh no, and got me. We started out and I started people and I got worse and worse and by the end he had and it was and then at the end he was like, okay, well, yeah, just because he was like, no. Yeah, yes, yes, right here, and like, oh man. And I I don't. I should have gone into crazy. There's no way.
I'll just be
Yeah. I'll text you. Yeah, okay.
Is there any diversity in that, either cultural or?
From what I we need to. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much. That'll be very helpful. Oh, okay. Have a good weekend. That's fine. So like, yeah, just like people that yeah, because I know there's only one that does it like whole time. Yeah.
Yes.
We have basically the other one that I wanted to do is this process is called Vegas. I talked to the doctor there about because she also has a class in the weekend, and I'm doing it with her, and she was talking about how we're getting living on this for that, and so kind of taking away from the day and wasn't sure if it was on the list.
Yeah, no, and I'm certainly not a legal in that, so I've the list of the guide for that, and if you can find something that really works for you, that also allows experience to get things that we're talking about, that's one. All right.
You're welcome.
You too.